So our next speaker is from KPMG. He's going to talk about digital business model transformations and quite a provocative title actually of his presentation. It's called Startups Storm in a Teacup. Very dangerous, of course, to say this on such a digital conference with so many startups. He's already on stage. Give it up for Heiner Hoefer, ladies and gentlemen, of KPMG.
Okay. Thanks a lot. First of all, coming to this strange stage. I'm trying to address all of you, but apparently not that easy. But some big columns to hide, if things go wrong. So first of all, let me connect to what we've heard this morning from David Stachon. A couple of really good comments, couldn't agree more, on ecosystems and how to not kill insurtechs and innovation. We see a couple of developments in the market which probably we have to be very careful not to do so. And the other thing is connecting to Thorsten Oletzky. Of course, we are thinking of ecosystems as well, and one of them is the InsurLab in Cologne. So one reason why we became member of that is because we strongly believe in collaboration and innovation by impulses, whatever you name it. Because we're in the same boat. KPMG, as you know, is a big company, an auditor, on the same route of changing to being a more digital consultant, player, whatever. And so we have the same story as many of the big insurance companies. And we believe that change and transformation, you really have to, you need help, I would say it in that way. And that's actually what we perceive and see in the market as well. But the question is here, is it a storm in a teacup? Is the whole run on insurtechs, tech companies, is it sustainable? Or is it something like we've seen, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago, with the, one of those waves which, will disappear in a couple of years because the market is so strong, so regulated, and probably, some of those guys, there's numbers, will not be here in a couple of years. So it's a provocative question, but to start with it, I disagree. I totally disagree because I've never seen so much change. I've never seen so much movement and so much energy in this industry. As you know, that I'm not sure who's from insurance here, but it's not the most sexy business you could think of. But things happening because of impulses, new players on the market, new ideas, new technology are really, and that's one of the key messages, changing the incumbents, they're changing the mindset. And not only because people start to wear sneakers now, that's something you perceive that even CEOs change their clothes, their habit. It's also that there is there's a perceived mind shift. And maybe I come back to the ecosystem and mindset thing later. Let me give you an idea of some numbers because we, of course, observe the market. And what we see is, if you look at insurtechs, we saw a strong rise in investments, a global involvement of insurtechs, insure companies in insurtechs, with a slow start in 2017, yes, but that's only, I would say, a normalization. And we see, and we heard about second wave today a couple of times. We see quite a few companies globally now lining up for their second round of investment and financing, and probably even with better ideas, more sophisticated ideas. And so what we see, we think there's a stable evolvement. It's not a revolution. Still, many investments are very small. But we strongly believe that what we're going to see in a couple of years is bigger, larger deals and more stories that really have impact. And what else? Just to give you another more insight on this, is that what we also see is that they're changing from what we've heard from the front office story, being a broker, being another sales channel, more and more into the middle office areas. So more enabling, I'm coming back to this with a couple of examples later, more enabling, less just selling and being, like the old analog world in a digital world. So see those examples, and another story to give you some more insights and numbers, is we see a global story. Most of the, I mean, not a secret, most of the companies we talk about, you know, they come from the US, Silicon Valley, you name it. And we see two developments. We see one is it's coming now, you know, moving to east and not jumping over Europe, hopefully. And there's bigger players and probably bigger numbers coming from eastern countries, maybe China, India, or other players in the eastern markets. And yeah, this is from some of our studies we just did recently. You also see that the markets in Eastern Asia are kind of test markets. So my hope is that Europe is going to play a big role here as well. And we're going to, with our initiatives we have, find good answers to those shifts to Asia. So another story is, if you ask the big companies, the incumbents, how do you perceive that? How do you perceive insurtechs as such and new tech companies? You will see that it's most of them actually still mention, and this is a very recent global survey, still see them as the biggest threat of disruption. So whatever disruption means, it's one of those words. But that's one side of the story. The other side is, if you ask them what's the biggest source of innovation, source of innovation, it's also the insurtechs. So apparently there is a threat, but also, and quite at the same level, a big chance now that the big incumbents see. And of course, probably like in many other industries, you would argue that that learning from fintechs or insurtechs is probably one of the biggest challenges and one of the biggest questions: how to do this? You know, you just found another lab or another whatever accelerator. So how do you really bring those new ideas into your company, make them work, and sustainable? So not kill innovation. And just one more slide on statistics. What hasn't changed over the years, it's all about customer experience. It's still about what customers perceive and how to get access to customers by data, analytics, and technology. So coming to the second half of my presentation is what has actually changed. If you look at this cycle, you probably, I'm not sure if you know the classical value chain of an insurance company. It's kind of silo organized, work. So you start with the proposal, talk to clients, you do your underwriting sometime, hopefully, and then you come back to the management of your contracts. And finally, if there's a claim, you better do well in your claims management. So what does technology do, and what does digital really do? I think in the core of insurance, and there's something that most of us probably forget sometimes, it's still risk transfer. So it's still the question on, if somebody wants to assure or insure a risk, the company that does well is the insurance company that has the best offer to transfer that risk to a pool of other people. So it's not about, only technology somewhere, it's the risk transfer. But what technology does now is connecting all those bits and pieces into one more close, I would call it's a cycle. It's not a chain anymore. And connect things, make things more transparent, faster, precise, and more valuable for the customers. So simply, there's actually a couple of value drivers. And I think if you look at it, what's happening, where I see the most impact, it's, can you read that actually? It should read personalization. So there's one thing, one anchor that technology will probably, you've seen that data and analytics is, I've skipped that slide, is one of the key things that insurers think about today. Make offers more personal and more adjusted, and not just the contract, but also the shift to services at the end, be more personal. So one thing that probably big companies are always struggling with is really knowing who's their customer, really addressing a product, addressing a service. And there's millions of examples you see in the industry. I had a breakdown just before the exact intro tech actually for 2 weeks ago. So I was trying to reach Lufthansa, I was trying to reach my car insurance company at the middle of the night. And my only question was, how do I get to the airport? Nothing else. Just, I was standing there. They could have known because my mobile data was online. They could have tracked me, whatever. But, I couldn't reach people. It took me half an hour. Plane was gone, of course. I couldn't rebook my flight online at Lufthansa. Strange. And my insurance company probably was only cared about, sending a toll car. It's fun, okay? I mean, my car needs to be pulled away sometime, but that wasn't my question. I just wanted to get to the airport. So that's actually something I really think personalization, understanding what my situation is and helping me, very important. The other side of the story is prevention. We talked about digital insurance companies. I think they do a lot of that. They will do a lot of that. Prevent people becoming sick, having an accident, whatever you name it. Like especially in the health insurance arena, there is heaps of options. And I'm not just talking about vitality, people getting to move. But there's a lot of options to help people living healthier, saving a lot of money, of course, not only for the insurance industry, and being a much more productive insurance service company. Third value driver is empathy. Like the personal thing, showing empathy, and I think we've said that for the last 15 years. It's still very hard to really, if you call somebody or if you get in touch with somebody, to feel empathy. And the question I raise is, how do you transport empathy with a claims app, for example? If you just have apps and technology, is this really the empathy we are talking about? So I have no answer for that, but it's a big question, but something that will drive the industry because it's so much easier with technology, and especially in insurance. And the other word is guidance, which means guiding people through life, helping them not only to insure their car, but have really understanding what they need in certain situations and really understand the person and guide them through life situations. It's nothing new, and I'm just saying that is actually the key that you can really do with technology, digital, you name it. And even though you can't read this, again, okay, connect to your customers and partners. So that's why it's a circle. I think connecting with technology, ecosystem, one answer for, or one fancy answer maybe for connecting is key. And giving information and doing the right things to the right time. And if you look at the industry, don't worry about the spoiled presentation. So there's an involvement. Of course, we started with a lot of brokers. We can see many of the companies still in market. Some are struggling because they were just, at the front end, broking and selling insurance contracts. We see a lot more optimizers now. It's probably what I call the middle office, and companies that really try to transfer between the idea and the execution, and enablers as well. Companies we work with, I think I come from Cologne, Presire, just mentioning one of them. Super impressive what they do. From hiring people up to understanding emotions, and there's a couple of cases. So super interesting what's happening here. And that's not core insurance, but it's still helping to understand and to promote the insurance value circle. And in the middle, we talked about Autonova and Element. There's those companies who are brave enough to ask for a insurance license. And I mean, Thorsten asked a couple of really tough questions. And I have to say that from my perspective, I still don't 100% understand what the value proposition is of these companies. We will see. Might just be my lack of fantasy. But I think they have a long way to go. I mean, to be an insurance company, I'm not just talking about regulation, it's a really tough business. And to be better and to connect to your customers, and same thing, same story with the brokers. How do you build a brand? How do people really know you and rely on you? And if it's health insurance, very tricky business. If it's pensions, You're giving away your personal data, your money. Is it really enough trust to bring it to a small company you probably won't know from or haven't heard about 2 years ago? Or will you still go to the big players? Big question. Just summarizing a couple of things that we see in the market, very easy. And then I come to another final slide. I think that for all of us and for insurtechs, for the insurance companies, I think key is actually to have something like a clarity of vision or let's call it Zielbild, something that really helps people to understand where they're moving to. I'm not saying this is the future. Mr. Stachon said how you can't predict the future, but I think there's something else. There's something like, giving yourself and your employees, most employees in those companies, they don't have an idea what's happening right now. They're scared maybe because they know there's robotics, there's other things coming, but we're lacking vision. So at least give them an idea what's going to happen. And I don't really think that's that complicated. It's just something people don't like to do, apparently. We heard all the old words of customer-centric and collaborative, build ecosystems, don't kill your idols, and be dedicated. And that's all from the research we did. Agile and adaptable, big thing. What does agile mean? Can I really, or is it really possible for a old school insurance company to change their business model and do everything agile? Probably not. But at least in some ways, agility is the answer. And we talked about failure or failure culture. I mean, it's very clear that insurance companies were not born, and Mr. Stachon said the same actually, to be failure and risk averse. So they have this DNA of risk, and as I said, KPMG in the same boat. What we do it always 120, 150%. We are trained to do things completely looking at risks, and failure is something that does not exist. So to really transfer or change from a company being built on not risking to experimenting and be more a laboratory of ideas, probably is something very, very hard. And if you look at the vision again, I typically miss the question of what's long term, what's short term. It's basics, but all I'm saying here is I don't really see the big picture right now, and for me still the feeling that we are all kind of how do you say that, im Dunkeln tapping in the dark, or see the fog, or what do you say? No, that's not another saying, whatever. So still there is no clarity, and that's something that really needs to come soon, and not only because of the business model. I'm talking about the whole system. I'm talking about employees. I'm talking about customers. So what we do, just a small commercial block at the very end. We also build ecosystems. One of them, we're just starting with, probably heard about HI, the Axel Springer, a digital company, digital ventures connected to this. So what we do is actually quite the same story. We connect and we invest in those ecosystems, work together. Everybody has a strength. We're not going to, build a single big company and not an incubator, not an accelerator. We just believe in the, how would we say, the democratization of innovation, working together, understanding each other, trying to kind of have the same culture. So we're building this transformation hub here, but not kind of, trying to do it all by ourselves. We don't believe that's going to work. So this is something we're just starting actually next week, and hopefully with not only for us but for the industry, some good value and some impact. So anyway, thanks for your attention. I really hope that you have a great day here and see some ideas, and take it with you and have a good day. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Heiner Hoefer of KPMG. Thank you.